Gosh,
Oh,
sorry. So I just started the recording now. Hopefully we didn't miss too much on it, but we can recap after. Sorry,
that's
I even
okay.
made a self note and forgot. So
Okay. We can move to next slide, Carla. Thank you.
sounds good.
Yes. So this is small cheat sheet because right now databases are largely classified as cloud and cloud agnostic. So even within cloud, we have three thought process. One is Amazon governed, another is Microsoft governed, and third one is the Google governed. So everybody have come up with their own databases, which are more or less relevant in their own scenario. And there are different use cases. There are different clients, whom we need to cater to, and they have these particular databases. Now, as you said, Joseph, that you need to, your role expects you to guide, to intermediate or beginner database or beginner programmers. So this particular chart will give us an overarching picture that what is there in the market right now, and what we have plethora of tools. Every morning I wake up, there is something new tool or some technology is already there in the market. But what is the purpose? How we can classify? So the left side, it is much more logical, and I think it is gonna stay forever, because whether the data is structured or unstructured is the requirement forever. Whether we are going to need it for entity relationships, or whether we are needing it for location geospatial requirements. So these are the use cases, but how we use it and how we define the ease of operation based on the infrastructure we have. That's where the use of technology differs. And I think that's where this particular cheat sheet is very useful. We can move to the next one. Yeah. So now, when we are talking about OutSystems, how OutSystems are treating all the databases. Is there any preferential treatment? Is there any no, this database does not work with us, or we cannot work with this? No, that's not the case with OutSystems. The OutSystems is the database agnostic platform. Yes, it is developed in Microsoft Stack. It is developed over Microsoft Stack. It has SQL Server under it, but it is still database agnostic. And why do I say that? Because it can integrate with any database. There are various different means how we can integrate with those databases. One can be direct connection to the database. Second, the integration builder. Now, integration builder, I would say, is ever growing with the different integrations, how we are adding with the platform to make our life easier. Now, just was in my demo, I'll show Terry, because I'm sure the Forge component was really difficult to treat, because it is developed, I think, for traditional, and now we are more into reactive development when it comes to OutSystems. And B, the Forge component, at that particular when somebody develops Forge component, it is largely for their requirement. It is not made generic for the case. So that's where the integration helps for understanding the aspect of the use case. The third one is Forge component again. The Forge component, we have crossed 5,000 mark, by the way. So we have 5,000 Forge components, which is a huge OutSystems community adding every day to that. And I'm very proud of it. And if you don't find these three things, then any system which can consume or expose API, OutSystems can be integrated with that. So that's where I can say that, yes, OutSystems is database agnostic. Now, when we are talking about scalability, if you are on OutSystems Cloud, even the licensing aspect, or if you want to add more server for this, is we can take that pain away from you, right? So that scalability aspect, oh my God, the traffic is increasing now. What should I do? So everything is managed on our Amazon web server with OutSystems. So even the scalability is not the problem. Now, as I'll show in my demo, currently what happens is, if I'm, as you are saying, Joe, Microsoft shops, right? So Microsoft shops generally are bound to use SQL Server or Azure databases, right? But what if I want to use MongoDB, or I'm currently integrating with some other company, or I've acquired new company which has other databases. What should I do?
Like Oracle.
Yeah. Oracle is like, there are many number of people who have invested, and that's where they are currently stuck up with the Oracle, even though they don't want to. But yeah.
Okay.
So that's where you need a platform which can improve or which can let you focus on developing functionalities of application, and not this rudimentary aspect. Oh my God, I just have different database. It's not gonna be supportive for my platform. No, that's not gonna happen with OutSystems. So in our use case, what we are going to show is we are building some functionalities using MongoDB, and some functionalities using OutSystems SQL Server.
Okay, and that's you're talking about the built-in database that's in OutSystems? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Carla. We can move to the next slide. So yeah, these are the basic SQL functionalities. It's like when we are talking about SQL, in OutSystems, you will find that you will have entities for SQL databases. Then we can build entity relationship diagrams for those. Like foreign key and a primary key can be defined. Then whenever you are creating any entity, immediately with that you will find the CRUD actions being created, which you can use in your applications. When you're, as opposed to NoSQL, you get these structures and you get integration services, which you can use for CRUD operations. But you do not get direct CRUD action acting over those structures per se.
You have to define them yourself?
No. Through Integration Builder, you get two different modules. One is the integration services, and second is the structures. And when you are developing, I'll show how you can add them. Development with application with OutSystems is essentially building with Lego blocks. You can get the modules and you can.
No, I like that. I like that.
So what Integration Builder is going to do with MongoDB is it is going to give us two Lego blocks, which we are going to use in our application.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, the only problem I've run into with some products that promise a sort of a generic middle layer is that they're not always as efficient in terms of the way stuff is designed and executed internally, right? So they're not always going to be the most performant because they're sort of dealing with things in a generic way, rather than it comes down to can we just go ahead and use the generic stuff because the performance is acceptable, right? Or are we dealing with sort of like a corner case where the performance is really critical and we have to make sure we're fine-tuning every element of queries of data coming in and out of the database? So
got it. So in OutSystems, if anything is gonna affect your performance, that still stays as warning, and that shows up in architecture dashboard. I'm not sure if you're aware about that.
Oh no, I'm so new to this. I'm barely conversant in Service Center at this point.
Trust me. If I'm at half of your work experience right now, and still I felt that wow, architecture dashboard is something which every developer should have, and access to that is so what I can do is probably after my demo is done, I would like to show that, because that's a heat map that stays there. You don't have to define or devise a separate project to deal with the technical debt which are getting accumulated with this stuff, and voila.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Great. We can move next, Carla. Thank you. So this is how the use cases is being defined. So I'm using essentially this 6 Lego blocks, I would say, or modules, and underlying we have MongoDB. So now what happens is these two foundation modules for demo MongoDB_drive is a driver which has the structures. MongoDB utils_lib has different client actions, server actions, entities, structures, but from that particular module, I'm just using entities. I'll show in the Service Studio how and what of that. Then what happens is we have a blog manager application where I have created roles for blog. And so that's this particular core functionality is only associated with blog functionalities, right? Then demo MongoDB _IS is an integration service. So that's where we will have all the CRUD operations, which we would be needing for MongoDB, right? And then over on top of it, we have end user modules for DB Next is basically for blogs. That is what the name of the application. And users is that we are managing users or creating users internally. So this particular approach is called as architecture canvas. And that's the approach which OutSystems proposes and uses for application development. Any questions so far?
So you're saying the foundation stuff is generic, but the two in the middle in the core and 2 in the end user, those are application specific.
The generic nature of the module gets dissipated or gets focused as we move up the layer.
Okay.
Yeah. So this particular foundation layers are generic. So for example, now tomorrow I want to build another blogs application, another integration with MongoDB. I don't have to create new one every time. I can simply use this one, right? So now maybe if I have to, again, as I gave example of blog related applications. So here I have defined 3 roles: blog admin, blog moderator, blog author. Every time I don't have to create, the same one. I can, and that too, I don't have to build or copy the code or somewhere. I just have to refer. I'll show you how we can refer a problem.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I mean, the typical scenario would be, my company having one client who wants your blog application, and then 3 months later we have another client and say, hey, can you build us a blog application? We'll go, yeah, we got the infrastructure for that. We can reuse that lowest layer and do things that are specific to the second customer in the second and third layers there.
Yes. So when you're referring to third layer, that is a foundation layer, right? So
no, you got backwards. The foundation layer is like the first layer, right? It's sit there, it's the foundation, and that's generic to all of them. The core stuff is related to how you're implementing the blog, and then the end user stuff is the stuff that the user is going to see. That's the layer on top. So that's going to have it's going to have company logos and company colors and all that good stuff, right? Yeah. But the basics. We could do 16 of these. They would all use the same foundation, but have different cores and different end user blocks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I understood what you were getting at. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And next, I think that's where Advait, you share your screen. Okay.
Go on.
Yeah. So you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So how I've decided to move on with the demo is, first I'll show the MongoDB Atlas. What are the essential components or essential details from MongoDB, which we would be carrying forward to integration builder, and then we'll go to the application, because this is how the steps will flow when you are doing with MongoDB, right? So from MongoDB here, what I did is I created the database BlogDB, and then it has collection blogs, and then I'm adding documents onto that. Okay. Over here, there are 2 details which we need to be mindful of when we are moving further. One is connect. So to your application, when we want to connect MongoDB with OutSystems, we have to copy this string. This is the connection string, and this we will be using in our application. Okay, this we will be using to create MongoDB connection, and this part is going to be our host name. So this is part 1. Next, network access. So you have an option of creating or accessing your application from anywhere. in the world, but that is not generally an enterprise scenario. You want to restrict your IPs. You want to set certain limits. So for that, you have a network access defined. Even MongoDB does not recommend to go allow access from anywhere. If you do this, you will get a mail stating that you have opened this for the whole world. You want to really do that or something, which is really from guidance, really good from guidance perspective. These are the two essential details which you need. Another important fact is there are two possible scenarios. One, the database or the collection which you want to use or build an application upon is already existent, or you are going to create it all new. So before you build an integration, that particular collection should have at least one document, because what the integration builder is going to do is it is going to use those attributes. Okay, so that's where the MongoDB part comes into picture. So first, we are going to see that we are MongoDB ready, then we are integration builder ready, and then we will go to build application. Okay, so here, any questions so far from MongoDB Atlas point of view?
No, it seems pretty straightforward. I mean, like you said, that the collections basically is what I would think of as the entity, right?
Right.
Okay. And the documents would just be
the records,
a row, like a row. It's a defined set of data points with data types, and you want to have at least one record in there so that it can do its inference from the data types that it's reading.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Moving on to integration builder. So first, I'll show you the one which I have created, and then with you guys, I'll build one new one with MongoDB. So we'll understand that, okay, that's how easy that is or how fast that works. So going to...
How do you get here to my integrations?
Oh yeah, it's from your ID, but yeah, you may want to show how you actually got to integration builder.
Yep. So what you can do is, that's what I generally do. I can put this link in the chat.
But you can also, so Advait, you want to show from the IDE side, if they want to create that external integration, then that will redirect them directly into the integration builder from the IDE.
You mean Service Studio, right? Here?
Yeah, so from, if you go to...
Yeah, here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's another way of doing it.
So again, first you need to have URL, or second you need to have ID. But if you don't have anything, you can simply Google OutSystems integration builder and you will find the link.
Okay.
Yeah, I generally like to refer that because you never know what constraint can come in your way, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I've noticed you've got multiple MongoDB integrations here.
Yeah, because
those are for separate projects, or?
Yeah, I was playing around a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in the same MongoDB Atlas instance, there are some sample collections which were provided by MongoDB. So there are something called as movies, or some other sample you can create on. Andrew Duthie has really nice content on MongoDB, by the way. So if you want to create that, that would be really helpful too.
If I ever need to use MongoDB, I'm sure I'll find out all about it.
Yep. Yeah. Terry, could you log in with?
What you mean now? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let me know once you're done. I'll proceed with this. So I'll first explain a bit of basic terminologies or what we are doing with it, and then it makes sense to create an integration when you understand the terminologies associated with it.
Okay.
You can keep going. I've installed the MongoDB plugin, but it shouldn't take long.
Yeah, and actually, if you're logging in first time, the setup could take some time to load the dependencies and stuff. So I was about to say that. So there are, you have to, let me explain the process of integration. So there is a MongoDB Atlas. And what we are trying to do over here is we are building the bridge with MongoDB into OutSystems, right? So there are two connection points, one at MongoDB and OutSystems end, and second, which you can use anywhere in OutSystems. Okay, any bridge has 2 points, correct? So one is between MongoDB and OutSystems, second between that connection to all other OutSystems applications. So first is integration name. Whatever you see under column integration name is point 1. And second is what we would be using demo MongoDB IAM into all the connections. So now let me edit and go to that part. I'll backtrace this one whenever I'll go on creating. So here, whenever you're creating MongoDB application, so there are 3 things which we will need from MongoDB. That is your MongoDB username password. Next is your host name, which we found that how we can get it from MongoDB. And third is database, BlogDB. This is the database which we are creating. Okay. So this is the application name, which is the integration being created from MongoDB to OutSystems. But if we look with this name in Service Studio, you will not find anything, because through that, when we are creating the integration builder has created 2 modules. One is demo MongoDB IS, and then driver, which is demo MongoDB DRV. So this is the naming convention within OutSystems application canvas. I will implore you guys to read about the application canvas of OutSystems, wherein you will understand that how we define certain modules, what are the 3 themes, or what are the suffixes we are using to identify the modules. Okay, I'm moving one step back. So this is the blogs collection, okay? And these are the attributes used. All columns may or all documents may or may not have it, but this is kind of a distinct of all the documents, right? Tomorrow, if I decide, okay, my blogs, I want to add something like inspiration, or maybe how I thought about that, that aspect or that attribute. So I'll go and add that into MongoDB, and that will reflect over here. So there are few elements which I'm not using right now for application. So here I have a choice which particular attributes from MongoDB I want to use in further to my application. So this particular driver, this particular integration service will have those columns only. Okay. If I have to use, if I have to keep this, but I have some other requirement wherein I have to use all other or different set of columns, I have to create another integration. Okay, that's where the same integration will not be useful. Okay, great. Any questions so far? Good.
Well,
So the structure right, that's essentially like, that's going to mimic the structure that we see on the, like within OutSystems Service Studio. When you go down to structures, we're going to want that to mimic what we see here on the right, correct?
Sorry, I did not understand, Terry. What?
All right. So on the right-hand side, you have the field names, but you have some things that are more than just strings or decimals. Like they're full-on structures.
Right.
Embedded in this, right? Yeah. You keep going up.
Yeah.
Like comment DT timestamp is subordinate to comments, which is a structure living inside of this parent structure. And we're going to want this structure to mimic what exists in the Service Studio.
This will be used in Service Studio.
Okay.
So what happens is these structures are associated. What it is doing right now when we are going to build, it is going to build two modules, right? Drivers, which will have all the different structures. The structures, why I'm using word plural structures, because it won't be just one structure associated with blogs, but there are certain ancillary structures also will be created, which are used for filtering purpose, for the projection purpose, for the sorting purpose, which is associated with MongoDB. I'll come to that. Okay, so this is the basic, the concept related to integration builder. Now I would like to build one with you guys. Yes. So what I'll do is I'll copy this because I'm lazy. Sorry.
That's what's going to prompt that schema or that then you will format it as a structure as they was showing it on the left side. And then that's going to be mapping into your ID after the connection is finally published.
And map that structure straight into
Yes.
Service Studio.
Exactly.
Good.
Wow.
So that's actually what you are doing. You're creating the integration first, everything okay and everything. Yes, this is what I want to map. And then eventually that's what will show in your ID.
And
I think you mentioned this, but I tried building a Mongo integration like this 6 or 7 months ago using integration, and it didn't go very well. I ended up using the Forge instead. But this seems more robust than it used to be.
yeah, yes.
Not Builder, but Studio. So that's our old version of for right now, replacing it with Integration Builder, at least in the web.
Yeah, this is familiar but better.
Yeah, that's what we hear a lot from developers. So
Yeah. So here we'll choose MongoDB. So when we are connecting or creating integration, here it will give me an option. Hey, hello, these are the MongoDB. Already you have built the integrations. Do you still want to go and build one more new? So I said yes, because I want to demo this for today. You can keep this like this MongoDB connection, but I'm a little old school, so I generally connect everything with underscore, have one word. So it's 1109.
Yes, developers generally know that spaces are evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, don't apologize for being lazy about not wanting to type those long strings. That doesn't say anything about you. That just means you're a developer.
Thanks. I'll take the compliment part of it. Yeah. So it's the MongoDB connection. RBAC. And here, so you can build an integration without authentication as well, but that's not recommended. You should use username password, and here the username password of MongoDB would come into picture. By default, OutSystems integration builder would plug in your OutSystems integration, but that's not what we want.
Okay.
I'll do this, and here I'll put first name. I'll use DNS. Now, because we are using MongoDB Atlas, we have to check this checkbox, because this helps us to integration builder to notify that, okay, this is the Atlas connection, and there are certain changes which you have to follow accordingly. And then here I'll go for blog DB. Thank you. See, even my system knows I'm lazy. So what I'll do is, for understanding sake, I'll put a different password. And here, these options we don't need to tamper with, like encryption and additional options. And I'll go for the test connection. So here it will give me whether the connection is right, whether the username password is right. So before you have to, go and build integration, you should generally do that. Now let's go. And yay. So now as we are good, we'll go and create connection. This will bring us to the point where now we have given MongoDB details. We have also specified the database which we want to, okay? And we created this, right? So it will give me that, hey, your part 1 of the bridge is ready. Okay, so now your job is to define the document and the attributes of document for that.
I assume that if you had multiple collections in this database, that they would all show up here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you that too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I can imagine it in my head.
Yeah, well, we can always come back. This is the purpose of the demo over here, right? So here you see.
Right. Okay.
Good. Going back. Now, the moment we select this, you must have seen that either we can make it read only, because if we don't have, we are simply going to give MongoDB connection for reading the data or for displaying the data, then you don't need to create integration services for create or update or delete. It will simply have fetch operations into that.
Right. Which should speed up performance theoretically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually, I haven't tried that, to be honest, but it doesn't take the performance hit that much. I mean, when
Okay.
I've talked to different developers, nobody has complained about that so far. So next is here, you will see that there's a drop down. So in the drop down, you will be finding structure or JSON. Now you have a choice. If you want to build certain integration services on your own, you can go by JSON route. So it's like driving a car, you can go on stick or you can use the auto. So structure is essentially going on auto. Okay.
Okay. So when you say structure, you're basically saying OutSystems tools figure this out for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I will provide you with a JSON file that describes the structure.
No, OutSystems response will be coming into JSON, and you will have to create an integration service to interpret those and update, which
Okay.
OutSystems is going to do for you if you go structure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So at the beginning,
OutSystems will automatically interpret the Mongo structure you're handing it.
yeah. And here by default, it will have all the fields selected, but you can choose like whichever you want or you don't want in your response. So this is selection of columns or the field, fields which you want to show in MongoDB is called as a projection. So this I would refer as a pre-projection step. You would limit your response itself for that application. So this is one more layer of I agree with you, Joseph, that as the document will increase and the workflow would increase, probably you would have to curtail your application to the basic functionality. And that's where this feature comes into picture, that you might not need all the attributes of the document.
Sure. You want to minimize the amount of data that's coming down the wire. You only want to take everything you need and nothing you don't.
Correct. Or maybe it's like for an organization, one database might be giving some attributes which is useful for HR, some which are useful for finance. So that's where you can build, from the same collection, different bridges.
Right.
to your application.
Right, or more typically, like, you bring up HR, right?
Yeah.
Generally, there are fields in HR tables or data that are fine for everybody to see, and then there are fields that people should not see. And so you want to make sure to build maybe one connection for HR employees and one connection for general employees, so that they are only getting the data that they are allowed to see. It's going to be a security issue to let out data that you don't need. You don't want that data coming across the wire at all, even if it's not being displayed anywhere, because that leaves it's a point of vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Joseph, to piggyback off of that, I ran into that same issue on a project a little while ago, where we had the entire data object coming across the wire. It wasn't displayed on the screen, so it seemed secure. But if you open up developer tools, it was all right there for someone to see.
Sure, of course. That's it's one of those things where, unless you're really familiar with how the thing operates, you might leave yourself exposed. And so, obviously, one of the things that you drum into people when when they're learning to develop stuff with stored data is you want to make sure that they get exactly what they need and no more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this whole process reminds me a little bit of the POC that I mentioned building a couple months ago. Used a REST service for all of its data. I wasn't updating anything. It was read only anyway. I have an account with a free REST service that gives me data. But this is very similar, where I had to define the REST integrations on the on the logic tab, right? This is very similar, where I had to give it the things that it wanted, and then when it returned the data to me, it gave me the ability to say, okay, I'm going to automatically build the structures that you need to consume this data when from the response that I got from the REST call.
Yeah, except one added advantage over here is you will not have to create the server actions. Here, the integration builder will create it for you.
No, I wouldn't have had to do it, except that the REST service I was using didn't have a what's that thing called? There's a special kind of file that everybody wants. I forget the name of it, but there's some like user interface and
Swagger file.
Swagger. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, if the data vendor had provided a Swagger file, I wouldn't have had to define my own REST calls. As it was, I found it ridiculously easy to do the REST calls. It was actually really simple. Anybody with a rudimentary knowledge of how to use something like one of those REST tools,
get APIs. That's
like an API execution tool, right? Yeah, if you have a rudimentary understanding of how to make REST calls back and forth and check the data that you're getting back, it's super easy to use the connection builder inside of the Service Studio.
Yep, I resonate with you. Agreed. So here we are. It is at the point where it is ready to hand over integration module and driver module to you. Okay, you just need to publish, which I'm not gonna, because it will be taking around 8 to 10 minutes for building it and sending it to Service Studio. Instead, what I'm going to do is I will when I'm showing the application, at that time, I will show how I'm using the previous ones, which I have created.
Is there a way inside of this tool, once you've created this connection, to sort of test it and say, let me run a test query, so I can see what data I'm getting back, so I can make sure that I've defined this thing in the right way before I have to actually go to the user interface builder? Is there a way to actually look at, now that I've built this integration, can I execute a query against this integration and get back a handful of documents or rows to see that I'm getting, so that I can verify that I'm getting back what I think I'm supposed to be getting back?
Not right now.
Like
Not at this stage.
The ID directly, right?
Yeah, not at this stage. No, he's what Joseph is asking Carla over here is while you are in integration builder, when you have published it. So right now, everything is ready effectively, right? So even before I go to Service Studio, is it possible for me to put a simple query? Like, say, for example, when we create aggregates, we have the test tab towards the end, right? Wherein if you change the values, you get the results down, right? So within aggregate itself, you see the result. So no, to answer your question.
Okay.
That
All
doesn't
right.
happen in integration builder.
So I'll have to go into, I'd have to go into Service Studio and I could do a quick test from in there.
That you have to put get an application, and it is not as easy as relational databases, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. So that part is we'll have to build with server actions, and that is a little different. Okay. So what I would do is this is the application, that is a DB next, which so I started with right from the scratch. Like if I don't have any access, anything, how would we build it? So register new user, and this creates new user into the user's application of OutSystems, because you have to have certain roles associated with certain applications. That is done through here. And so again, we are taking roles from core level, core module, and those roles we are using over here when I'm defining. When I create user, by default, he or she is given role of blog author. Okay, so I'm ardent cricket fan, so I'm going with my cricket nomenclature. Pardon me for that. Username, I'm putting MT author. The password. Email for operational keys, I'll give mine. Mobile phone is not mandatory. Create user. So it's Marcus Trescothic has been created successfully. Next is empty author. When we log in to the application, we will say this. Now this is the blog component. Okay. So for authors, you will see the blogs list, and you can see if your blogs are in waiting. So if you create certain blog, it wouldn't be immediately added to the list. It will be waiting. So for example, now.
So waiting for approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Marcus blog. One. And here we'll have save. Okay, it will redirect us, but that blog is not here. That blog is here. So here Marcus can see that, okay, this blog is waiting for approval. Now, another thing, you saw that when Marcus was creating the blog, it was like the save blog and delete button were enabled. But that's risky, right? If he or she goes and deletes someone's blog. So here we are restricting that. So only authors of that blog will be having access for saving and deleting. The rest for everybody, it's just read along. Okay.
In a production application, you would most likely have an additional role, which would be, like a manager or an administrator who would also be able to publish and delete blogs, no matter who the author was. Yeah.
The hierarchy in this, the role hierarchy in this application is there is blog author, there is a blog moderator, and then there is a blog admin.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So now there is a users tab also. So here for users, for authors, they will be able to see. They'll not be able to edit or change the privileges for anybody. So if I want to log in with, say, for example, John Doe right now. So say JD. Later. I will show this functionality, and then I'll quickly dive into Service Studio. So here, let me go to users. So in users, so for example, if I want here, John Doe would be able to see this particular edit tabs. Okay. And if he or she wants to elevate any particular user, then it is updatable. So if I want to make him moderator, I can easily do it. And then that Ben Stokes becomes moderator. Okay. Let me quickly dive into Service Studio. So here, wait. Yes. So I'll start with interface. First, I'll show which all are the modules we are using. Okay. So this is the demo MongoDB IS, that is integration services. And then we have demo MongoDB drives. So this is one. So here we'll see we have all the structures which we are using from driver. Okay. And from integration service module, we are using all the server actions. Apart from that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. Apart from these two modules, which we have created through integration builder, I highly recommend to use this module. You can add it, simply like you can search over here and you can add it. You know how to add it? I can show you again. Not a problem. So you can go over here, look for MongoDB. So there are some fairly effective modules which are already created and in the Forge, and from Forge you can get it over here.
Okay, so these are Forge modules we're talking about.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And then so I'll just show in use. Yeah. So why I'm saying why we need to recommend this. I'm not using you. By the way, if you have if you want to use this server actions for conversion purpose or something, you can use that. But I essentially use it for filter operations, sort operations, and value type operations. So these are the entities which are already defined. Okay, so I can show you over here. So when we are saying operator in MongoDB's terms, greater than would be GTE -GT, right? Mm-hmm. But when you are defining certain filters over here you have all the options and you just have to select. I will show you one. Yep, that's pretty much it from MongoDB point of view. For what I will do is, as we have running a little short of time, I will quickly wrap up the MongoDB part. For users, will keep for later. Okay. Okay. So blogs is my homepage, and what I have over here is there are certain data actions. So now, when you are dealing with SQL databases, you create aggregates. You use the data from aggregates. But when we are dealing with MongoDB, we create data actions. So what is that? When I click over here, I'll see fetch data from other sources. Okay. And this is how I will be creating this. Now, whenever you create any data actions, it automatically creates an output parameter. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this I want to define as a list data type. And over here, it looks pretty simple, but this is start, search. Now, where did I get it from? So when I add those modules, _is and _drive modules from integration builder into my application, I magically get these actions, these server actions. Okay, so from here, I will be dragging and dropping. So what we have to use is when you want to display like a table from MongoDB, we will be using search integration server. When we want to get it in the form for one particular record, we will be using get blogs document. Okay. When we want to create, it is very intuitive. We will be going for create. But when we want to update, we would be doing replace. Okay. So I will show. Yeah. Is
there any sort of like a selective update?
What
is a replaceable document?
Selective fetch. You want to see or selective update?
No, selective update. For instance, if Carla and I open the same document at the same time, we both make separate changes to that document and we both hit save. Would one of our saves overwrite the other?
In this application, I'm not tracking it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I can show you is whenever, sorry, we are displaying all the documents and you want to edit one of those, you can go into blog detail. Okay. And over here, you build this data action that is get blogs by ID. Now, here, we are populating it on screen. And when you want to save it, okay, these are the steps. So when you go to that screen, when you are updating, that means you are going through this workflow. That is blog ID is not null. Okay. Here, we are assigning these values with the author name. So if it is Carla who is updating, so at that particular time, the latest one would be picked up for the table, for the data entry. And it would be author name and updated at that date time. Okay. Here we can put, again, check if we want to have some restrictions on updates, we can build it programmatically over here. If we want to assign or if we want to put some if conditions. Okay. So for that, for replace, you have to give these particular parameters like blog ID, and this is the document which we would be submitting. What I wanted to show is how we can fetch selectively using filters. Okay, so for this, so there are three tables which I'm using. So for author, we will be only showing his or her blogs, and whereas for admins and moderators, they need to see all the blogs. Okay, so here I have used filters in this search operations. This is we are in interface tab. This is the data, data action, which we had created. Okay, and this is how you pass the values. Okay, so I want to give status equal to new. That means they are ready, they are added by author, and they are ready to be moderated. Okay, so filter operator. Now these two entities, I got it from that module which I recommended you guys, like this one, MongoDB utils lib. Okay, and that's why this particular module is critical for filter purpose, I would say, because these two parameters, and it is little difficult to find the documentation around it. So because I was trying -EQ and everything, and then suddenly it dawned me that, oh, okay, I can use this module and it makes my job like more than half easy. And you can keep on adding your basic filters in this if you have more where clauses, because here my condition was I want it new, and only author should be able to see his or her newly created blogs. They should not be able to see everybody's newly created blogs, right? So that's why the status equal to new alone does not suffice. So this is how you can add filters. And also when I'm deleting, I'm doing logical delete over here. And that's where here. So when you're replacing, you can assign these values. So I'm making it inactive, updating it, whoever is deactivating it, and putting the current date time. So challenges or learnings over here is I'll start from MongoDB. There's first two parts, that is cluster and connect. You need to remember that you check for C hash, and that is the string which you copy, because that's going to be your connection string for every time. Second is the network access part, wherein you define certain IP or IP ranges from where your application is going to be connected. So this is about the MongoDB Atlas. Moving on to integration builder, you have to define the host name. You have to check the checkbox if you're going to use the Atlas. Username, password authentication is highly recommended, and use the username password of MongoDB database. After that is done, you get 2 modules. One is driver and another is integration service. Integration service will have your server actions. The driver will have your structures. When you come to the Service Studio, here you will use that MongoDB utils lib as well. That is not created through integration builder, but it is easier to put filters onto it when you are using certain server actions. Okay. And I think if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Either I'll answer your questions or we both will learn.
Very good.
Yeah, I know we're past our time. I just wanted to quickly say, first off, thank you so much. This was really, really informational for everybody. I think this was very great to hear. But also, there was one last point that I wanted to see if you wanted to discuss. Remember the fact that you created a document that then you had to delete because it wasn't updated on the front end. Would you want to explain that a little bit better? So if they run into that situation, then they'll know what to do.
Yeah, I talked about it when we were at MongoDB, but again, so there are 2 scenarios when you are creating your MongoDB applications. Either your database and collection pre-exists or you're creating it afresh. Okay, if it pre-exists, if you have one document, then when it is building the integration, at that point, it is easier or it is possible for integration builder to look for the attributes. But if it does not have any document, it will not proceed after step 2. So it will expect you to create document. Now, that was the challenge I faced over here. I had created a document manually in MongoDB Atlas. And there was, when I started adding the application, it was not showing me anything on the screen. I was not able to fetch, but I was able to add the documents. And the constant error, if you want to see the errors associated with it, by the way, Service Center monitoring is the point wherein all these applications error you encounter, which you may or may not see. You know, if at one point you will find that, oh my God, why am I not able to see anything? Go to Service Center. That's the place to be. Okay. So that point, I was getting an error that it is not able to serialize. So it took me a while to realize that I had introduced certain attributes over there, which I was not selecting. So while fetching that particular attributes, it was having a problem. So I deleted that document because anyways, it was a dummy document, which I had created just for adding the attributes. So you guys may face this kind of problem. So I just want to make you guys aware.
It's a good heads up. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your effort here. This is good stuff.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Before everybody leaves, I promised my community manager I was going to take a picture of everyone. So if you want to turn on your camera, then I'll just snap. Oh, actually, that's going to be challenging since I'm not operating my actual computer. I am using this giant machine here. So let me see if I can make this work.
Or I can go old-fashioned way, screenshot.
Yes, you are gonna have to take the picture, Advait, and then send it to me so we can show that to Katarina.
Oh, okay. I'll do the screenshot and I can crop it.
Thank you. That would be great.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I would definitely like to talk to you both and understand the use case, and Joseph, the way you have created the sample application. It would be really helpful.
Okay. Let me know when you've got a free hour or so. I can walk you through the whole thing. Although, since you're the people that I demonstrated it before knew absolutely nothing, right? I had to demo it for my development group. Basically, I had like 30 people online on a Microsoft Teams call, and I went through the application in about 45 minutes for them.
Okay.
And I, there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover that I couldn't be, just because it was too much detail. But you being very familiar with OutSystems, stuff will go a lot faster because I won't have to explain everything from the ground up for you. I can just say, oh, well, I use this thing, and you're like, yeah, okay, I know what that is, and we can move on. So, sure, if you want to, where are you located?
Jersey City, New Jersey.
Okay, so you're on the East Coast. Yeah, so we got a 3-hour time difference, but except for, generally most of the people I meet with are either Central or Eastern time. So, if you have something that's maybe a little earlier than we started today, but, afternoon on the East Coast, people make less demands on me. Right. So I have more free time in the afternoons than I do in the mornings. Mornings, I'm usually, stuck in meetings or with, tasks that can't wait. But anything later in the day, you just, send me an email, a meeting request, whatever. I'll be happy to demo my
We can do it
POC for you.
We can do it couple of weeks. I'll send an invite because this time works. If this time works for you guys,
4 o'clock's great. 4 o'clock's great. Just be cognizant of the holidays and stuff. I'm off both days of Thanksgiving and the day before because I'm doing some medical stuff. So, I had a lot of fun putting it together. It's not a business oriented demo in any way. I based it on a hobby of mine. So. I saw you had a database in there of movies and movie stuff. Mine is all about European football.
Hey, then you must be tracking the Soccer World Cup now, right?
I'm one of those crazy guys on the West Coast of the United States who wakes up at 4 a.m. to watch my Premier League games.
Oh, which team?
Saturdays.
Which team you support? I'm Chelsea fan.
I'm a Chelsea guy.
Really?
Yes.
Kidding?
Yes. Keep the blue flag flying high.
Yes,
absolutely.
I'm I basically am Germany and Chelsea fan. That is because I'm a fan of Michael Ballack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was representing.
Yeah, it's funny because I fell in love, here in America, soccer is not really well, they call it soccer, first of all. Yeah. It's not as well loved as many other sports. And so, it's funny. I don't often meet people who who know this stuff like I do. So
I was 1 year I was in UK and I made it a point that I go there, Chelsea.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's great. I'm glad. So you've been to the bridge. That's something I haven't been able to do. It's funny, I fell in love with the game watching the World Cup back in 2014, but I'm having a lot of trouble deciding whether to actually watch the World Cup this year or not.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing
2010, 2014, 2018, all Germany.
All Germany. 2026 in my backyard.
Oh, okay. Yes. It's one match is there in Rutherford. It's in my backyard, either way.
Yeah. So we're gonna have games here, and I'm very excited about that. But I'm
fantastic. I'll fly there. Not a problem.
Well, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I got problems with Qatar, so I'm trying not to support their.
Yeah, and Terry, what are your hobbies? What would you like apart from when you're not dabbling with?
I'm not dabbling in technology and football. I like music and I love like science fiction stuff. I read a lot of books and I watch a lot of crazy TV shows and movies and things. So I'm a big sci-fi and fantasy person.
Awesome.
So
is it the same thing with you, Terry?
I like sailing.
Oh, okay.
Sailing, okay, much healthier.
I had like a normal sailboat a while back, and it was just a money pit, and it was hard to maintain. And my son, he's 11 years old, didn't like it very much because he couldn't touch the water. And so last year I bought this small inflatable sailing dinghy. Right, it's a small boat,
Sure.
But it's quick with a big sail, and you can put it in the back of your car, take it out, inflate it, assemble it. And so he and I go to the beach every other weekend and sail. He loves it because we're splashing through the waves. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's great.
That's what we have common over here too. But yeah, I've been wanting to take the lessons. Maybe soon. We'll see. We have a nice shore in Jersey. We'll see.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, the Jersey
Thank you.
Shore. My wife's from Jersey, so she talks about the Jersey Shore all the time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for letting me talk and for hearing me patiently. And if you have any questions, please route it through me. As I said, either I'll be able to answer your question or we both will learn. For sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
very much.
So much, Advait, Joseph, Terry, for being here as well. I really appreciate your time, Advait, a lot. So I appreciate that you volunteered for this event tonight. I'll be bothering you in the future for other events, but for now, you can rest and take the evening.
Yeah, well, if we can get an Outlook, if we can get an OutSystems group, really cranked up out here, I'd love to do more. I love doing user group stuff because, there was a time in my career when I was going every month. I was going to like the Visual Basic user group back in the 90s. And it was always valuable, talking to other developers and having presentations every month. And it's a great resource. It's nice to kind of build a community around that. And I hope, I have an opportunity to participate more as time goes on. The real challenge for me is getting, the support that I need from my employer, basically, to get this done. It's, I'm pushing pretty hard. So
Yeah,
Looking on.
we are all here for help. Let us know. By the way, you can click on that QR code, which Carla mentioned toward the beginning of the presentation for user group.
Let us
And
help
yeah,
you.
we'll see. We'll definitely, I'm sure, like me, there are many talented solution architects, and I feel really happy, or I would say grateful to be in that community. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks very much, everybody.
All right. Just a quick reminder, next week is Next Step, which is our annual conference, and there'll be a lot of amazing updates that we're going to share. As you may have heard this past week, we acquired first acquisition ever in the history of OutSystems, Ionic. I don't know if you're familiar with Ionic, but it's a very, very used framework for mobile development, which will be an amazing thing in our future development, but that is something that is still being discussed in the background. I just wanted to tell you that OutSystems is doing great, and that next week we're going to have a whole bunch of new updates, Project Neo among other things. So do not miss out on that, and register. It's everywhere. That's our main advertisement right now.
Yeah, and we are also going to be to AWS reInvent from 28th to December 1. It's in your backyard, Joe. It's in Vegas.
Yeah, they don't let me off my leash to go to things in person anymore.
We will be definitely, and I think we have a huge crew, and most of them are solution architects, so it would be really helpful. I'm looking forward to it. I'm all excited.
Okay, sounds good.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Everyone. I do need to clear up this room. I have time for another 12 minutes, but it's been great this evening for me, and I think hopefully everybody got whatever they wanted to understand behind NoSQL, SQL, and much more. So thank you again.
All right, thanks. All right, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.